So last week I was showing a house and I was waiting for my client to arrive. I had my back to the world. I was down at the lockbox, the key box with my phone, trying to open it to get the keys before she arrived. And I started to cough, like I have this cold. So apologies for how I sound today. But I was coughing so hard that I didn't hear somebody come up behind me. And I felt this hand on my shoulder and a man's voice. And I like jumped up, banged my shoulder on like the gas meter on the wall where the lockbox was sitting. And he's like, oh, just to let you know, I'm in the yard working on the fence while you're doing the showing or whatever, and told me who he was. And it's like, oh, thank you. Appreciate that. But it just spoke to me to be like, okay, maybe just heads up a little bit, pay more attention to what's going on around me rather than just like put my back to everybody in the world. And it was one of those things that was like, okay, stuck with me. And I have to remind myself that, there's a few things that I still need to pay attention to as I'm, being safe at my showings. So today on Safe Realty with me, Shannon Cutler, we are going to discuss open house safety. Everybody always wants to talk about it. It's the main part of the course I teach. People really want to focus on this. We'll make it into a two-parter. Next time we'll do a little bit more on casing and distraction and theft during, and this time we'll do more about the safety and setting up of the open house. Welcome to the Safe Realty podcast. I am on a mission to educate my listeners so they don't become the next true crime news headline. As a former police officer with over 18 years of investigative experience and now a real estate agent, I guide realtors on how to handle their own security in vulnerable situations and develop best safe business practices, the name of the game. If you enjoy learning tools to improve your safety, I'm going to ask you to follow this podcast. Please share it with another agent you know. Somebody will get value out of this. And you know what? Even better, play this at your next office meeting so everybody can hear this information. So talking about open houses part one, how do we set up the open house? I mean, everybody has the standard ways of doing things. And this is not to judge or criticize how any of you are setting up your open houses. I'm just offering best business practices that will help keep you a little bit safer and maybe make you feel a little more comfortable while you're in the open house, because I do know that agents report to me regularly and they say that they are doing an open house, but they just feel uneasy. And we want you to operate your business with a feeling of ease. We are in real estate. We are not in undercover operations. We need to feel good when we're at work, and we're in an industry in which that's possible. So starting at the very, very beginning, I would say get your sellers on board with how you want to operate your open houses. Some sellers don't want them. Some want one every weekend. That's up to you as an agent to sort that out with them. But here in Canada, we have what's called a Schedule A. It goes on the back of your multiple listing contract with the sellers, and it's a list of all the extras that they want you to do, that you're promising to do, maybe where you market, so that everybody's on the same page. So that is where I would add your extras about your open house. If you don't have a thing called a Schedule A, maybe it's an addendum or whatever you do in your area. So I would explain to my sellers how I'd like to run open houses and let them know the benefits and the downsides, and then they can decide with you as to what they want. I mean, sometimes maybe they don't even want people in their house randomly, like 6 or 8 groups through without supervision. Maybe they only want one group through at a time. Maybe they don't want it at all. Maybe they want to be there during so that they can assist. There's all sorts of different ways to run these. Get them on board, get them involved in the process, and you can explain even about the safety aspect of it for them. Most people, as long as they're decent people, which if they're not, don't work with them, then they'll be happy to work with you to make you feel good and to give them the best bang for their buck, because they're paying you to do this. After you get your sellers on board, we then typically list our open houses, our upcoming open houses, on the MLS system, on our system, you can click this button that says open houses, and you can list the date, the time, who's going to be there, special instructions, but it also will auto-populate to our national realtor.ca. I would imagine it goes on places like Zillow, automatically populating to those types of places. If it's a broker's open only, then it won't go to the public, and it will just notify agents when they look at the listing. So that's where we will start typically, so that you get the most people in, because there's no point in having them if no one's coming. And then number two, we typically list them on our social media. So we'll put, a page on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever you're doing it, upcoming open house this weekend. You'll notify the public, the people that follow you, that you're going to be doing an open house. Now, just keep in mind, what information you're putting out there, because people who follow you, unless you've been selective about those people who follow you, you never know who's going to see it and who's going to show up. So just be mindful about how you're listing it on your socials. The next thing we do on open day is we put our signage up. Signage is super important. You really want to draw as many people into your open as possible. Again, otherwise, why bother? So as we're putting up our signage, we're keeping in mind that we want to make it the most visible. But you're then also going to draw in people that are just driving by, looky-loos, that are out for a drive. So you never know who you're going to get. And with that, keeping that in mind, if it's possible, I like to tell the neighbors around the open house of what's happening. Just so you know, today in the cul-de-sac, there'll be lots of extra traffic. I'm sorry if it inconveniences you. Let me know if you have any issues or you need the space. I'll put up a blocker or something so no one parks there. And I also sometimes invite them to come in, unless they're weird and creepy, then I don't bother. But I will sometimes let people know, yeah, come on by, come check this house out in your neighborhood. It's listed at, $8.99. You'll get a chance to see what, it looks like inside. And if you're ever thinking of selling your house, maybe it'll have some value to you. But the more people that you get involved in the process, the less you're alone. And again, we've talked about this before on the podcast. Bad guys hate the limelight. They like the cover of darkness. So the more light, or the more people, the more information, the more activity you have, the less likely that there'll be somebody there that will give you a hard time. I also suggest to people, especially newer agents who are not comfortable doing these, any agent should, and it's more fun probably anyways, but bring a buddy with you. A new agent, just a friend who's thinking about the business, your teenager, have them sit and do their homework at a table while you're operating this. It's not that big of a deal. It won't impact your open house. If there's no security inside, and you want to ensure that you have somebody with you, this is a good one. Also, I've suggested to people to invite a home inspector or a stager, a mortgage broker, especially new people to the industry. They're looking at ways to meet clients, and this could be a good opportunity for them to get in front of people and for you to have somebody to talk to, good connection, and then not be alone. That might be another avenue. Other people in the business would be beneficial. Maybe your business partner or a new agent. New agents love that. And here, like in Canada, we don't have dual agency, so maybe the new agent or the other realtor or broker that comes with you, maybe they're the ones who then can take any buyers that are potential, because you can't if you represent the sellers here. Now, as we're setting up, we're doing the signage, we're letting people know we have our buddy or whatever. Make sure you arrive early. If your open starts at 1, don't arrive at 12:55 and have people already lined up outside, which is the case and has happened to me. My kids got sick. I got there just as I wanted to open, and people were already waiting outside. Barely had enough time to put my signs out, and I just had to ask them to wait a few minutes and look around the yard if they would have liked, rather than come in the house, because I wasn't ready and I wanted to make sure that the property was to my satisfaction. So arrive a bit early, make sure the house is secure. Go into the house, close the door, lock it behind you, walk through the house, make sure everything is how you want it to be, whether it's lights on, that kind of thing, garbage is out, kitty litters hidden, all those types of things. But then as far as like ensuring that all the windows are locked, the doors are locked, you have the ability to control the environment a little bit. I think it's really an important thing to secure the house before you invite people in, invite strangers in with you. One time I did an open, I may have mentioned it before on the podcast, and a fellow came. He was really, really strange, very, very nervous. And when you're coming into an open house, you shouldn't be nervous. He automatically, immediately gave me the heebies, had my spidey senses up, and he said, "Can you show me downstairs?" And I said, "You're welcome to go downstairs on your own. I'm expecting another showing quite quickly with an agent that's arriving. So you go downstairs. When you're done, come on up and you can tour the upstairs." He went downstairs for a minute, came back up. And then I said, "The other showing should be arriving soon. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to go look around the yard on your own." Well, this next showing, there was no showing coming, but he was giving me the creeps. So we exited out the front door to go look at the yard. I locked the door immediately behind him and I ran downstairs. He had unlocked the back door and 2 windows in 2 different rooms. And I know that they were locked and closed because I checked them all at the beginning. And my clients had told me that they had done it. They had some really valuables in one room that was locked and not available for the open house. And so I double checked and they were unlocked from this fellow because he was the only one at that point. So come early, make sure the house is secure, make sure you're feeling comfortable before you start letting people in. And if you do arrive late, just tell people, "Give me 5 minutes. I'm so sorry." Walk around the yard, have a look at the neighborhood. Make sure you prepare your sellers in advance, put away their pharmaceuticals, put away their valuables, jewelry, none of that should be left in the house. And if it is, it should be in a place that is definitely not accessible to public if they're opening cupboards and different things and closets. I guess I should have mentioned this earlier, but when you do your listing photos, bear in mind that you're selling the property and the home. You're not selling the fancy things in it, unless you are. And then you do what you need to do. But keep in mind, like my one client had this really cute little liquor cart. It was not being sold with the house. It was just like a roll around fancy liquor cart. And it had all this fancy crystal and glassware and then these expensive bottles. And the photographer sent me a picture of it. It was a really cute piece and very well staged with it. I actually didn't put that on the listing because I thought, well, if some loser was wandering around at night and saw this, because I know people do case the photos to look for targets, for marks, to break in or to steal things, that this would be a really good spot to get some expensive booze that they could sell or do whatever with. But so just when you're doing your listing photos, keep that in mind. What are you selling? And what are you listing? And it's not the fancy jewelry drawer. If they have a fancy jewelry drawer, take the jewelry out or put a couple fake crappy pieces in there to display what it's for. Don't leave the $20,000 watch in there when you display that. It's just, you're asking for trouble. We want the lights to be on. We want visibility, blinds open, lights on. Having a sign-in sheet is, up to you and the seller. I don't find them that useful. People typically think you're just wanting to gather their name for, for solicitation down the road. You can explain to them why you want it. And you can say, well, if I was coming into your house or if a stranger was coming into your house, would you want to know who they are before they enter your house? Most people are like, yes. I'm like, okay, well, that's the same with my seller. You're a stranger without an agent coming into their house. They want you to come in and view the house. That's why they're listing it. And they also want to know who's coming into their house. And most people are fine with providing their name, asking for identification. You don't have to take a copy of it, have a quick look to make sure that they're not just writing down Mickey Mouse and coming in. And you can show everybody or tell everybody that comes in, you see as you enter, this house is video and audio surveillance. Just keep that in mind as you're viewing the property today. And that will quell a lot of trouble right at the start. If they don't have audio and video, you can put up a few fake ones, pretend a camera is present. I know some agents that do that. And if it's just a thought of somebody potentially being able to be caught on doing something, they might not commit a crime at that house that day because they think it could be caught on video and audio. So let them know that that's the case. You can always ask somebody to leave if you don't feel safe. If somebody comes up to you and is making you feel uncomfortable, not asking questions that you think a person would ask, you could do what I did and suggest that they start outside. Say, it's getting really crowded in here. Like as they come in, feeling a little awkward, say, you know what? On second thought, I'm going to have to ask you guys to start on the outside, the exterior. If it's a strata condo apartment building, the third floor has the pool or the storage or the common lobby, the common room, libraries on the second floor. Why don't you go take a look at that and then come back up when there's, a better opportunity for you to view this property. And then you have a bit of time to figure out if you want them to come back in or if you want to lock the door and call for help or whatever it is. You can assess it, but do not hesitate to ask somebody to leave. You can say and make it up, like our little white lie episode a couple episodes back. You could say, well, guess what? Unfortunately, a couple agents have told me they're bringing showings through at this time. It's going to get a little crowded. You're going to have to make your viewing quick. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to close the open house early while they view. Even if it's not true, it's fine. You just want to get that person out of there. If they won't leave, you feel uncomfortable, you leave and you call for help. Don't hesitate to say no. It's okay. You can limit the people coming through the open house at the time. If it's too busy, it could be overwhelming. They could be stealing something. It could just be an inappropriate use of the space. If you are feeling unsafe and there are a few people in the house, go up to a couple or a person that you feel is like a safe person, and you could say, hey, look, there's this creepy guy that just walked in, or this couple that's giving me the eyeball. I feel like they're going to steal something. Would you guys stay with me until they leave? And that I've done that before. And the person that came that I felt a little bit concerned about, I think was there to steal something, and they just got bored and ended up walking out and just leaving. So don't hesitate. If you tell people, like, hide in plain sight, tell people why you want the help. If you're showing somebody wants to see something specific, don't hesitate to lock the front door to protect your client's property while you show them the other part of the house. There's nothing wrong with that either. Just so you have a bit of control about what's going on. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this on a previous episode, but an agent I know, who actually was a police officer at one point too, she was doing one of her first open houses, and somebody came in. The first person of the day had come and knocked on the door. She opened it and said, welcome to the open house. The fellow at the door said, I see I'm not the first person in today. And right in front of the door, there was a pair of shoes, a large men's pair of shoes. And she, in her mind, thought, what a great idea. This person thinks somebody's already in this house. And so if they were going to do something, maybe they would decide not to at that point. So she went to the SOS, a thrift store, and she bought a pair of men's shoes, and she puts them out front every time she does an open house now, which is a really great idea. We call it the big shoes. So before we recap today, that was a quick one, and it was quick for a reason because, we could go on and on about open houses and showings, and there's always going to be something new to learn and something to take away, or somebody's done something that's a really great idea. So if that's the case, if you have a story or tip to share, please reach out to me. I would love to hear your feedback on the things we talked about today, or if you have a hot thing that you do that keeps you safe, that makes you feel good, or you have another agent that does something really interesting at open houses, I would love to hear about it. I'm learning constantly from other agents, and I want to continue that. So please reach out to me via email or social media. All the links are below in the show notes. And, if you have a story to share, let me know, because I'd love to talk about it on an upcoming episode. And if you have any interest, I'd love to feature you and interview you on an upcoming episode. Please leave a rating and review so that others like you can find me and learn ways to keep themselves safer. If you've learned anything in today's episodes, or if you think this has any value to somebody you care about, somebody you work with, please send it to another agent in your office. So a quick recap, we talked about getting your sellers on board with the way you want to run your open houses. Obviously, we're not dictating to them, but maybe we can work together with them, form a partnership that will allow you both to run it, to help them and to protect yourself. Pay attention to how you're listing and signing it, that people will know where you are at any given time, but feel free to bring a buddy with you, somebody else in the business or somebody else just to be there with you to keep you company and help make you feel a little bit more comfortable. And don't hesitate to say no and ask someone to leave. We don't have to be nice to everybody, even though we feel like we do all the time. Say no, say someone else is on the way in. Say you've got to close up early because you're having an emergency or something's come up for you, and ask the person to leave. It gives you a moment to assess how you feel about the situation, and maybe there's something different that you could do or that you want to do going forward. And use our hot tip of the day, big shoes. Put the big shoes out front. Thanks for joining me today on Safe Real Estate. Have a wonderful couple weeks. Talk to you soon. Be safe, everyone.